السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد فإن أفضل الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Beloved brothers and sisters, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah was asked a question about maqasid al-Sharia. Sharia means the command of Allah, that the teachings of Islam. If you were to summarize it, what is the goal of Islamic teachings? What is the goal of all of this Sharia, the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? And he said it could be summarized in two sentences. إيجاد المعروف وتكثيره. Ma'ruf is good manners, good behaviors, good practices. So Islam is there. The first phase is whatever is good, good values, good character, to found it and to increase it. وَنَهْيِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَتَقْلِيلِهِ. Munkar means wrongdoing, injustices, and minimizing it. In other words, characters such as helping those that are in need, those that are poor, those that are homeless, those that are sick with hospitals and doctors, those that have civil cases and criminal cases and finding attorneys and studying law to help them. Those are characters that Islam wants us to found and to increase. And injustices and wrongdoing and wronging others and evil thoughts and evil, even in our hearts of jealousy and hatred and wronging others by stealing from them and confiscating things that do not belong to us, to completely stop that and minimize it. So why are we mentioning this? We're mentioning it because today we want to talk about a value of Islam. It's already founded, but how can we increase it? How can we multiply it? How can we make it easy to others? Alhamdulillah, it's been over 20 some years that I've been giving private khutbahs and went to so many different masajid and so many communities. And I've spoken to so many people from our brothers and our sisters. And if you ask me what is the biggest challenge that Muslims have, it's what I want to talk about today. Is it education? No. Education is not a challenge. If your son, your daughter, you want to go to Harvard, easy. You can go online and there's some forms and some videos and SAT training and whatever, and yes, your kid can go there. Is it medicine? Absolutely not. There's no one that died because of lack of medication in this country. You can go to a hospital or free clinic. There's a way that you will find it. Is it because of salah? Absolutely not. Our masajid are all over, and lectures, and any imam in the world in any language that you want, you can go to YouTube and you'll find it, and you can guide yourself and learn whatever you need to learn about your faith. What am I talking about? I'm talking about something that Allah loves and considers to make one of the most beautiful parts of His religion. And He considers it a blessing to us. And yet, we have made the haram much easier than the halal. We have made the haram today easier to ourselves and our family members and our children than this thing that Allah loves so much. So what I want to do today is for us to be on the side of Allah and to make this so easy and to promote it and to support it until it's the easiest thing ever. What am I talking about? I'm talking about marriage. Marriage is something that Allah prides Himself on. When He speaks about His prophets and messengers, He says, I have given them one of the greatest gifts. وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً. Zawj means spouse, means wife. I give them spouses. Allah says this is one of the greatest blessings that I've given to my prophets and messengers. As if to say that marriage is one of the greatest gifts from Allah. And what we need to do as a community is to make it easy to ourselves and to our family members and our children and the youth of the community. On any given Friday night and Saturday night, one of our sons, one of our daughters, one of our brothers can go out and do something in the haram. And our job is to make the halal much easier. It's much easier to go through an FBI interrogation than it is for a Muslim man or a Muslim woman to get married. We have a lengthy application that you have to fill. Even Allah does not require it of us. Who are you? What's your tribe? What's your nationality? What do you do? What are your aspirations for the next 100 years? Okay, we're going to put you on the waiting list. Even Trump's immigration law and immigration offices are easier than getting married nowadays. And we discriminate in all of our we just learned the nastiest things from our culture, and we came here and we put it together. I remember the other day there was a family from Pakistan that wanted to marry their daughter and said, help us find someone. I said, sure. And so I went to some of my Pakistani friends and I asked them, you know, this family, wonderful girl, good Muslim, mashallah, educated, whatever, and she's looking for a husband and whatever. And they asked me a question, and I sat there like, what? They asked me, are they muhajirin? I said, what the heck is muhajirin? Muhajirin, I know the Prophet ﷺ are people that migrated. Apparently, if you're originally from Pakistan or you migrated from India to Pakistan, it's a big, I was there like, oh my God. I'm telling you, she's a good Muslim, from a good family, and now we're worried, there's so many cultural stuff that we inherited that we're making the halal so difficult and haram upon our children, upon our youth, upon our communities. And brothers and sisters, we've all seen it. Wallahi, during my college days, I went with Muslim youth, some of my best friends, that used to drink and go out almost every single night. Wallahi, not even a girlfriend. I remember one of my friends, and I'm embarrassed to say that, but it is the truth, that in one night could go with 2 different girls. As Allah is my witness. And drink and party. But he married a good Muslim woman. And now, wallahi, that same brother is sending me advice on salah and reading the Quran and fasting Mondays and Thursdays. And I'm saying, subhanAllah, what a good Muslim wife can do. And the same goes to our sisters. I've seen sisters, the way they dress and the way they walk and the way they talk and the places they go. You're like, wow. Shaitan, Iblis can make tawbah, but that girl will never make tawbah. And wallahi, it wasn't but a matter of maybe a couple of years that girl was wearing the hijab and married to a wonderful brother that brought her to be a great Muslim sister. The biggest challenge, if you ask me, for our youth and for us and for the existence of Muslims is who my son and who my daughter is going to marry. Is who our children are going to be with. You can take your son, you can take your daughter to the best weekend school and the best Muslim full-time school and teach them the Quran and teach them the Hadith and teach them whatever. If they marry the wrong person, and the same thing with your daughter. You can wear the hijab and wear the niqab and teach her how to pray and whatever, and if she married or falls in love with the wrong person, only Allah knows what could happen. The biggest challenge, and I don't have the solution. I'm not coming here to say, hey, this is the problem, this is the solution. I'm saying, brothers and sisters, help us with this situation. You know how when we sit together and all we want to talk about is, oh, did you see what Mohammed bin Salman did? And Mohammed bin Zayed, and Yemen, and Qatar, and Iran, and Saudi Arabia. You know that time we waste and we say the same thing over and over? Let's invest it on the future of our children. How can we do? What can we do as a community to make it easy for my son to find a good Muslim girl? For my daughter to find a good Muslim husband? Let's work, let's cooperate together. Get on Facebook, get on Instagram, get on your phone, go to your coffee shop, and come up with a solution to it. It is the biggest challenge, in my opinion, that we as Muslims are facing. If you don't believe me, look at this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ says, يَنْصِبُ إِبْلِيسُ عَرْشَهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. Every so often, Iblis calls for a conference call. He calls all of his troops. Come here. Give me your status report. One of them says, مَا زِلْتُ بِهِ حَتَّى تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةِ. So-and-so used to pray. And I whisper, hey, stay up a little bit later. He stayed up late. In the morning, it's time for Fajr. He's so tired, he didn't pray. And Iblis nods his head. Okay. This guy always used to fast, and I made him miss the suhoor, and I made him whatever, and guess what? He didn't fast this day of Ramadan. And Iblis nods his head. One by one, they're coming with reports. I made this guy stop salah. I made him stop zakah. I made him stop this. And he's nodding his head. And finally, one of the shayateen comes to Iblis, to the leader, and says, Iblis, مَا زِلْتُ بَهِمَا حَتَّى فَرَّقْتُ بَيْنَهُمَا. This Muslim man, this Muslim woman were so much in love. They had this amazing family. And I started to whisper and whisper and whisper until I split their marriage. What does Iblis do? He says, Anta, you're the best one in the whole group. As we say in English, you're the man. وَأَقْعَدَهُ بِجَنْبِهِ. He says, come sit next to me. Why? The ulama say because the person that didn't pray today, inshallah tomorrow he'll pray. And the one that didn't fast today, tomorrow he'll fast. And the one that didn't give zakat today, tomorrow one of his family members is going to be broke and he's going to have to give zakat. And then one day he's going to go to Hajj and make tawbah. But when you split the husband and the wife, you have split the children. When you have split the children, you have split the family. When you have split the family, you have split the entire community. So marriage is a jewel. Marriage is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have to hold very close, that we have to promote, that we have to push, that we have to fight for. Not just talking. Trust me, all the single men, I know we have some youth here that are not married. And guess what they hate the most? Is when someone comes to them and say, hey, you should get married. Why? Because they heard it a million times. Ask anyone who's 20-some years, if you have your parents from Asia or the Middle East, oh my God, you're sick and tired of it. Every time your mother sees you, son, you should get married. Your uncle, son, you should get married. You go to the masjid, you're not married yet. You should get married. We're used to it. Where's the roadmap for our children? Come up with the roadmap. Make it easy. Make it something that they want to do, that they want to pursue. And actually, it starts at home. What do I mean it starts at home? You are my example of marriage. If my father and mother are always fighting in the house, and my mother looks at my father and says, I hate the day that I ever married you. And my father says, I was the happiest man in the world until I married you. How many people think I would get married? I see the result of marriage in front of me. Fighting, arguing, disputing, whatever. So you want your children to get married, don't even open your mouth. Make it the most beautiful thing for them. You hate your wife hates you, that's perfectly okay. I have no problem with that. There's reason to fight and argue. But take it to your room. Husband, you walk into the house in front of your kids, you kiss your wife in her forehead, you hug her, how was your day, whatever. That's what the kids need to see. Wife, your husband comes into the home, treat him with the utmost respect in front of the kids. Don't let them see the arguments and the fighting and the disputes and your family and your mother and your father and no, and you did and you did it, and 5 years ago you did, and then we're surprised that they don't want to get married. The second thing is introduce them to the person at a younger age. I want my daughter to marry someone that is Muslim. What do? I bring them to weekend school at a young age. I take them to a Muslim school at a young age. I take them to Muslim activities at a young age. I don't throw them in a public school, far away from Muslims, far away from the Muslim community, and now my daughter's 20 years old, and she's coming with a non-Muslim guy, and oh my God, how dare you, haram! And now you want to say haram? After she's all grown up, and she's never been around Muslim men, and she's never seen them, and that is why one of the greatest wisdoms of Sayyidah Khadija, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, is what? Her daughter, Sayyidah Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, migrated from Mecca to Al-Medina. Now she's a beautiful lady, she's growing on her own, and all the men are coming forward to marry her. And she's waiting on one man, so she doesn't answer. The Prophet ﷺ says no. No. The greatest man, Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, wants to marry Fatima. He says no. Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab, he says no. Sayyidina Uthman, no. Until who? Until Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib comes and says, I want to marry her. Why did she rush and say yes? Because the Sayyidah Khadija, her mother, at a young age, said, Prophet of Allah, your uncle Abu Talib doesn't have a lot of money. Why don't you bring his kids? Why don't you bring Ali? So he's raised in our house with our kids. So she used to play with him at a young age. They were friends at a young age. She loved him at a young age. They enjoyed, they had a lot of things together at a young age. They grew up together. So when it was time to get married, it was a natural process. I love it when parents are so upset. They come to America. They get married in America. They raise their children in America. Now the boy, the girl is 25, 26. No, we're going to go back home and you're going to marry from back home. And they force them to marry from back home. And 1 year later they get divorced. And they're like, why are you surprised? We haven't exposed them to the person that they're going to marry, the ideology of the person they're going to marry, the system, the way of thinking, the processing. So we, as a community, need to make it a priority. That at a young age, we're out introducing our children to it. That it's a good thing. That it's part of our faith. That it's part of our marriage. Even the imams, there's something that imams have to stress to us as communities. I'm going to say this and underline it and think how dangerous this statement is. We as Muslims are not Muslims unless we believe in 5 things. One of them is zakah. If you have money and invest it over 1 year, then 0.25%, you pay in zakah. Like, masjid. Masjid, not the imam, not 100% agree that you can give a zakah to a masjid. Me personally, I did all the research. I'm not 100% sure if it's halal or not to give your zakat to a masjid. There's no masjid in history more poor and broken down than the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. He used to make sujood during the rain and he had his own money. And he didn't take a penny of zakat to put it in the masjid. But do you know who you can give zakat to? Your brother or sister, especially your brother who wants to get married and doesn't have the dowry. You know the mahar? He wants to get married and he can't pay the mahar? No, you are allowed to pay zakat to your Muslim brother to pay the mahar. All the scholars say, yes, you can do it. This is how we as a community need to do it. Create a fund to help our brothers and sisters that are trying to get married, to pay the first month of their rent, to pay for their honeymoon, to pay for their dowry, to pay for their whatever. We have to make that a priority as Muslims. We have to make that our concern. Because wallahi, if your son was to marry a good Muslim woman, khalas, forget about it. Forget about it. You don't have to worry about what he eats or what he drinks or where he goes or what he does or... All of us know a lot of brothers who live a terrible life and so whatever life and style and going out and blah, blah, and they were broke and didn't have a single dollar to their name. They married that good wife that put them in order and their manners in order, and today they have money in the bank and they're good people and serving and praying and fasting. So brothers and sisters, one of our top priorities is to raise this command of Allah. And Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was asked, Imam, I have money for Hajj. The man said, I'm poor. I have enough money to either do Hajj or to get married. And I'm afraid of fitna. He said, you have to get married first. You know the 5 pillars of Islam, one of them is Hajj, which is compulsory. You're illegal there? Yes. He says, Imam, I have enough money either to go to Hajj or pay my dowry and get married. And I'm afraid of fitna. I don't want to do something haram. I don't want to fall into temptation. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said, forget about Hajj. Get married as soon as possible. So brothers and sisters, our job is to make it easy. To stand with our brothers and sisters in helping them finding spouses. In helping them getting married. If they have financial barriers, for us to destroy it. And I said it and I'll say it again. If any one of you wants to get married and you're having problems with her father or her mother, call me. And I will call all the brothers in this mission and we'll go talk to her father or her mother. Because I know how tough it is. We still have some nasty ideas in our mind of, no, I am from Sudan and I'll never marry someone from Palestine, and I'm from Palestine and I'll never marry someone from Syria and I'm from Syria. Ma'alish. Leave it up to me. I always wanted to get a license to start shooting, so I'll come all loaded and go talk to the father. Don't worry. Just find a good Muslim girl. And all the brothers are here with me, so we're good. We'll convince the father. But the Prophet ﷺ says, مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَأَمَانَتَهُ. When a good Muslim man that has 2 characteristics, had good faith and religion. I don't want you to be a person that doesn't pray Fajr, or someone that doesn't fast Ramadan and say, help me marry this Muslim girl. No. Let's have a deal. Make sure you're praying, make sure you're good with your religion, and amana, that you're trustworthy. Trustworthy. The people can trust you, wallahi, we will all fight for you. And the sister should do the same thing. When you know a sister that has a daughter that is not married yet or looking for a husband, push earth left and right until you find her a good Muslim man. And a lot of us like to say, stay away from it. Tomorrow they get married and they fight and they argue and they blame me. And that's what Shaitan wants. That's what Shaitan wants. We have two options. The haram is right down the street. Tonight is Friday night with the corona. Our Muslim boys and our Muslim girls are going out, smoking hookah, drinking, doing things that we know are haram. Let's not fool ourselves or hide our faces. The Prophet ﷺ says, وَفِي بِرْءِ أَحَدِكُمْ صَدَقَةً. You know when a husband and a wife have that private relationship? The Prophet ﷺ says, it's a sadaqah. It's a charity. What? How is that Prophet of Allah? He says, if he puts it in the wrong place, the haram place, is it haram? They said yes. Then he said, Allah rewards him if he puts it in the right place. The haram is easy. Don't act surprised. Allah has made that desire in us. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. A woman by nature is attracted to a man. A man by nature is attracted by a woman. Our job is to make the halal easy. They're being dragged. Whether you like it or not, it's so windy, the hurricane is pushing them in a direction. All you have to do is push them this way or push them that way. And if you're like me and we're doing nothing, we're pushing them this way. And if you want to stay, you're pushing them this way. But what we need to do as a community, my brothers and sisters, is help our brothers and sisters get married. Finding them people. If they find people, fight for them to find that spouse. And forget about that old stupid mentality that we have. And I think I've mentioned it before and it still drives me crazy. And I love them. I think may Allah bless everybody in the ISNA organization. Biggest Muslim organization. Love them, respect them. Can never thank them enough for what they do. And they have a monthly newsletter, a newspaper called Horizon. You open Horizon in the middle, usually, I don't know if you change it now or not, it's for people looking for husbands for their daughters. Wallahi al-Azim, every time I read it, it's exactly the same thing. Looking for 3 conditions. Number 1, U.S. citizen. So if you're from Egypt, you're from Palestine, you're from Sudan, you're from Malish. Number 2, doctor or engineer. So all of you working in gas stations, all of you computer people like me, whatever, we're not. But subhanAllah, brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ says, and he never lies, tomorrow someone is going to come to marry your daughter. Tomorrow someone is going to come to marry your son. A family is going to come. You're worried about money. Listen to this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ says, ثَلَاثَةٌ أُقْسِمُ عَلَيْهِمْ. There are 3 things that I swear by Allah on it. Why does he say that? See, 1 + 1 is equal to 2. So the Prophet ﷺ does not need to swear. If something makes sense, he doesn't have to swear. But if something doesn't make sense, it's extraordinary, then he has to swear to say, believe me, trust me, I am the Prophet of Allah, I'm not lying. So this is something that the Prophet ﷺ wants to put in our hearts and implant it in us so we believe in it and we don't doubt it for 1 second. He says there are 3 things that I swear by them. ثَلَاثَةٌ أُقْسِمُ عَلَيْهِمْ. There are 3 categories of people that I swear by Allah on. What do you swear, Prophet of Allah? حَقٌّ عَلَى اللَّهِ أَنْ يُغْنِيهِمْ. Ghina means rich, wealth. There are 3 people that Allah promises wealth to. Who are they, Prophet of Allah? الفقير يتزوج يريد العفاف. A poor man that gets married to protect his religion. How many of us know people that were poor and begging when they came to this country or back home? But they fear Allah and they wanted to get married because of Allah. And before you know it, they started a job, they started a business, they're working, they open their home, they have a second home, they have a bigger business. Why? Because they put Allah first. Who are the poorest people the Prophet ﷺ was speaking to? He was speaking, all of us know that poor slave, Bilal ibn Abi Rabah. That mu'adhin, the slave that nobody, no family, no whatever. When he got married, what happened? He became a millionaire. Who else is he speaking about? Abu Hurairah. Abu Hurairah, the poor Sahabi in the masjid, he didn't eat for days and he's always scrolling. He got married. He became one of the wealthiest people and migrated to Bahrain and became one of the wealthiest people in all of Bahrain. ثلاثة أقسم عليهم. There are three. The Prophet ﷺ swears by them. Marry poor, and Allah will make you rich as long as you're doing it to protect your religion. Don't be like one of our sheikhs. I have to say it in Arabic first. A man went to his mother, and he's a big sheikh and whatever, and says, his mother comes in and says, my son, shouldn't you get married? And he says, Na'am ya Ummah. Yes, mother. Huh? What kind of wife should I find you? He said, a wife that looks like Kim Kardashian, wa'iyadu billah. That's your condition? Listen, a'udhu billah, a'udhu billah. But let your criteria be, first and foremost, someone that gets you closer to Allah. When you put Allah first, wallahi, He will open doors for you that you never imagined. That is why Allah says, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. If you are mindful of Allah, Allah will open doors for you that you never imagined. But put in your heart that I want to get married. Put in your heart that I want our families and our children to get married. A lot of us have children that are young and we're worried. Who are they going to marry? Don't worry about them. Worry about that boy, worry about that girl that's asking you, I need to get married. Help them. When you help them, Allah guarantees your children. When you help the children of others, don't even worry about your children. Because Allah will take care of them. When you see that sister in the community that maybe someone proposed and they broke up the engagement and she's sitting there heartbroken, no, work to get her married. When you know that sister that was married and got divorced and you know a brother that's find someone to marry her. Don't worry about your children. You take care of the children of others, wallahi, Allah will take care of your children. أقول هذا القول واستغفر الله لي ولكم من كل ذنب فاستغفروا الله الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Beloved brothers and sisters, for our children to want to get married, we have to be happy in our marriages. First and foremost, remember, my brother and sister, that marriage is not a culture or a customary thing. It's part of our religion. Yeah, making my wife happy is part of making Allah happy. You know how I pray the sunnah after the salah because it makes Allah happy, and I read the Quran to make Allah happy, and I fast on a Monday to make Allah happy, and I fast on a Thursday, and I go to Umrah. Making your wife happy is as important and more important than all of those things. As important, in some cases, more important than those things. So don't let shaitan come to your pride. Don't shaitan, put your wife under the microscope as, how dare you say this, and how dare you say this, and who did and a lot of us men, forget there's any sisters here. A lot of us men are spoiled by our mothers. May Allah forgive them. For now, I want a wife to treat me like my mother because I was spoiled rotten by my mother. When I go home, I never ask for food my entire life because my mother, boom, puts the food in front of me. I never once had to do laundry because everything is clean and put in front of me. No, that's a servant. If you're looking to marry someone like that, get a maid. There's apps now that you can get a maid. They'll come and clean your house and do your laundry and everything else. A wife is your partner. A wife is someone that Allah rewards you for making happy. Who's the greatest man and husband ever? The Prophet ﷺ. Who's the busiest man ever? More mindful of Allah ever? The Prophet ﷺ. Read the books of hadith. What was he doing before salah? كان يكون في مائدة أهله, or he was there serving his wife, doing dishes with his wife, washing and doing laundry with his wife. Then he hears the adhan and he goes to the masjid. No, in our culture it is inappropriate. Well, that's your culture. But